Emeritus Newsbrief, I'm Lynn Houston.
I've decided to sign Senate Bill 1070 into law because, though many people disagree, I firmly believe it represents what's best for Arizona.
Governor Jan Brewer on Friday signed a new law into effect, and according to the American Civil Liberties Union, it will require police agencies across Arizona to investigate the immigration status of every person they come across whom they have reasonable suspicion to believe is in the country unlawfully. To avoid arrest, citizens and immigrants will effectively have to carry their papers at all times. The law also makes it a state crime for immigrants to willfully fail to register with the Department of Homeland Security and carry registration documents. Governor Brewer said she had no choice due to the failure at the federal level to address the immigration issue.
I am issuing an executive order directing the Arizona Peace Officers Standards and Training Board, AZ Post, to develop training to appropriately implement Senate Bill 1070. Importantly, this training will include what does and does not constitute reasonable suspicion that a person is not legally present in the United States.
President Obama feels the new law is the wrong move.
I'll continue to consult with Democrats and Republicans in Congress, and I would note that 11 current Republican senators voted to pass immigration reform 4 years ago. So I'm hopeful that they will join with Democrats in doing so again, so we can make the progress the American people deserve. Indeed, our failure to act responsibly at the federal level will only open the door to irresponsibility by others. And that includes, for example, the recent efforts in Arizona, which threaten to undermine basic notions of fairness that we cherish as Americans, as well as the trust between police and their communities that is so crucial to keeping us safe. In fact, I've instructed members of my administration to closely monitor the situation and examine the civil rights and other implications of this legislation. But if we continue to fail to act at a federal level, we will continue to see misguided efforts opening up around the country.
You can see a summary of the new law and more about the issue on the Emeritus News Advocacy Legal page. Also on the Advocacy Legal page, an Oregon court jury orders the Boy Scouts to pay $18.5 million in punitive damages to an Oregon man who a jury found was molested by a Scout leader back in the 1980s after Scout executives knew of his previous history with other molestations. The victim, Carrie Lewis, was given $1.4 million in compensatory damages earlier this month. Off the coast of Louisiana, officials have little hope of finding 11 missing workers from an oil drilling rig that exploded and later collapsed into the Gulf of Mexico. No cause cited yet, but thousands of gallons of crude oil have leaked into the Gulf. However, officials now say that the well has been capped, limiting the leak. It remains to be seen yet what environmental effects will take place from the oil that has already leaked out. A bad week for the debt collection business. First, a Senate hearing took on charges that debt settlement companies take customers to the cleaners, charging upfront fees and leaving the debts unsettled.
Posing as fictitious consumers with significant credit card debt, we contacted 20 debt settlement companies. We attempted to pick companies that on the surface ranged from credible to egregious in their marketing. We did not enter into any agreements with these companies. The vast majority of companies that we've contacted provided fraudulent, deceptive, and otherwise questionable information to our fictitious consumers. The monitor shows key themes that we found, including advanced fees, exaggerated claims of success, telling consumers to stop paying their bills, and linking debt settlement to federal programs.
What's going to happen with my creditors? I mean,
you're not going to pay them.
I shouldn't pay a few of these cards at all?
You're not. When you are in our program, you will not pay any of your creditors anymore throughout the whole program.
Okay.
I'm saying I don't tell anybody not to pay their bills. I say 100% of the clients who have been successful have stopped paying their bills.
Okay. All right. So now I'm caught between a rock and a hard place. Do I put money away in my savings account, or do I use that money to pay my bill if I'm in your program?
If you're in our program, put the money into your savings account.
Okay.
The debt settlement companies say some of the criticism is unfair.
You understand the credibility gap that exists in this hearing, I assume, by now.
Senator, what I understand is that there are serious problems that we need to talk about. And what I also understand is that there is an attempt to say that because there are serious problems that nobody should do business in this industry. And with that, I absolutely disagree.
I can't decide which is worse, the freecreditreport.com or you guys. You are preying upon the fears of people. You're making a lot of money and you're delivering a substandard product, and many, many times you're engaging in fraud to get the customers by promising them something that you know is not true. That they can quit paying their bills. That you've had 100% success. That you're going to settle the debts and your record of success, and you had so few dropouts, on and on and on.
The Supreme Court earlier in the week dealt a blow to debt collectors and their attorneys by saying they had no defense for misunderstanding the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. A Cleveland legal group attempted to claim it as a defense when it erroneously filed for a foreclosure auction on behalf of Countrywide Mortgage against a homeowner in Ashtabula, Ohio. Only problem was, the homeowner had already paid off the home. The Supreme Court ruled the attorney's screw-up entitles the homeowner to go back to court for damages. And in a third development, the Obama administration is proposing new rules to prevent debt collectors from illegally garnishing government benefits from senior citizens' accounts. This after complaints from victims and public officials about the practice. More on all three stories on the Emeritus News consumer page. Also on the consumer page, Ford recalls more than 33,000 cars and SUVs for a safety problem with the seats and headrests. All of the vehicles are 2010 models and include the Ford Explorer and Explorer Sport Track, the Mercury Mountaineer, the Ford Fusion, and the Mercury Milan. At this point, Ford plans for repairs to be done at the dealers beginning around April 30th. And a Senate investigation claims health insurer WellPoint is targeting women with breast cancer for policy cancellations. WellPoint denies it's going on. That story on the Emeritus News insurance page. Also on the insurance page, hospitals and medical centers will have to take small raises for their services for Medicare and Medicaid patients over the next couple of years. The problem? It's because many of these centers overbilled Medicare and Medicaid for 2 years in 2008 and 2009. In health news, the Centers for Disease Control saying that in-home tests for colorectal cancer are effective, so effective that those done in doctors' offices are actually a waste of time and money, and that the in-home tests are more accurate. The reason why on the Emeritus News healthcare page. And in this video from the Defense Department, a top-secret Air Force project blasting off from the Kennedy Space Center Thursday night. It's a test flight for the X-37B unmanned orbital vehicle, a small unmanned version of the space shuttle that can be used for repair and emergency ventures into space. It's designed for long-term orbital use through remote control. And the research is out proving teens would rather text than talk. The results of a Pew Research Center survey also show that when teens do talk, it's most often, believe it or not, with their parents. That story on the Emeritus News Lifestyle Features page. The latest on the biggest issues and public policy at emeritusnews.com. And live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the Emeritus News channel at livestream.com. That's an Emeritus News Brief. I'm Lynn Houston.